Everyone has a secret. But not every secret was meant to stay buried. Welcome to the confession chamber. I never thought silence could become heavier than the truth. For years, I told myself I was protecting everyone. But the truth is, I was protecting myself. I'm a 34-year-old woman from Kenya, and for most of my adult life, I've looked like someone who had it together. I had a decent job, a calm voice, a clean home, and the kind of face people trust easily. I was the one friends called when they were falling apart. I was the one who gave advice, who listened, who said things like, "You deserve peace," and "Don't settle for less." But there was one part of my life that I never let anyone see. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was some big crime, but because it revealed something ugly in me that I didn't want to accept. I had an affair with my sister's husband. Even now, writing that feels disgusting. I wish I could soften it. I wish I could explain it in a way that makes me look less terrible. But there is no clean version of what I did. There is only the truth, and the truth is ugly enough on its own. My sister and I were never extremely close in the emotional sense, but we were connected in the way family can be, even when there's distance. We grew up in the same house, shared clothes when we were younger, fought over stupid things, laughed over old memories, and carried the same wounds from our childhood in different ways. She was the louder one, the more direct one. I was quieter, more careful, more likely to swallow my feelings. People always said she was stronger than me. I think, in many ways, she was. She got married before I did. Actually, I never married. I had relationships, but they never stayed. Some of them ended because the men were selfish. Some ended because I chose badly. But some ended because I never really knew how to let myself be fully loved. I always kept a small part of myself locked away, like I was waiting for disappointment. By the time my sister got married, I was in a season of my life that looked stable from the outside, but felt painfully empty inside. I was tired, not physically tired, though that too. I was emotionally tired. Tired of being the responsible one. Tired of going home to silence. Tired of pretending I was okay with being alone. Tired of telling myself that love would come when the time is right. When I visited my sister's home, I used to notice small things. The way they moved around each other. The way someone asked if the other had eaten. The way there was life in the house, even in ordinary moments. I didn't envy her marriage at first. I envied the feeling of belonging somewhere. That is the first truth. It did not start with desire. It started with loneliness. I want to be honest about that, because people think these things begin in hotel rooms or secret messages full of passion. Sometimes they begin in much smaller places, in tired hearts, in neglected emotions, in the slow hunger to be seen. He started talking to me more often during family gatherings. Nothing inappropriate, just normal conversations. He was easy to talk to. He listened when I spoke. He remembered details. He asked how I was. And for some reason, it didn't feel like a polite question. It felt like he was actually asking. At the time, my sister was going through a difficult season. She had 2 young children, work stress, money pressure, and constant exhaustion. Their marriage was not perfect. I could see the tension. I could hear it in the way she snapped at him. I could feel it in the house even when nobody said anything. I told myself that I was just observing, that I was staying in my lane. Then one evening, after a family event, he sent me a message to thank me for helping clean up. That was all, I replied. Then another message came the next day, then another a few days later. Still harmless. At least that is what I told myself. There is a dangerous stage before wrongdoing, where everything still has an excuse. That stage is where I lived for too long. I told myself, we are just talking. I told myself, he is my brother-in-law, not some stranger. I told myself, I would never cross a line. But something in me had already started moving toward the line. I began looking forward to his messages. I began checking my phone too often. I began dressing more carefully when I knew I would see him. And then I would hate myself for noticing that I had done that. Sometimes I would lie awake at night and ask myself, what are you doing? But then morning would come, and I would go back to pretending nothing was happening. The first time he said something that crossed into emotional intimacy, I should have stopped it. He told me he felt lonely in his own marriage. He said he and my sister had become more like co-parents than partners. He said he didn't feel heard anymore. I remember reading his message and feeling two things at once: pity and a quiet thrill. That thrill is one of the hardest things for me to admit, because I was not innocent. I was not confused. I was not forced into anything. Something dark in me liked being chosen in secret. I wish I could say I immediately thought of my sister. I did think of her, but not enough. Not in the way I should have. I thought of her like someone standing far away, while my own emotions stood right in front of me, breathing into my face. I told myself I was just being there for someone who needed support. But the truth is, I also needed something from him. I needed attention. I needed to feel wanted. I needed to believe that I still had some power, some softness, some part of me that could pull someone close. Our messages became more frequent, then more personal, then dangerous. There was never one big moment where everything changed. It was a series of small betrayals, a joke that lasted too long, a compliment I should not have enjoyed, a conversation deleted, a meeting explained away, a silence chosen on purpose. The first time we were alone, together in a real, intentional way. I already knew why I had agreed to it. I told myself it was a coincidence. It was not. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I hated myself even while doing it. Nothing happened physically that day, but emotionally, something happened. The space between us changed. The air felt wrong, charged. I went home sick with guilt, but not sick enough to stop. That is another truth people do not talk about enough. Guilt does not always stop you. Sometimes it only follows you after. When the affair finally became physical, I felt like I left my body. Not because it was romantic, not because it was beautiful, but because some part of me could not stand to be fully present in what I was doing. Afterward, I sat alone in my room and stared at the wall for a long time. I remember thinking, you cannot undo this. You are now this person." That sentence destroyed something in me. Still, I went back. This is the part that shames me the most. Not that it happened once, but that I kept choosing it, again and again. Not often enough to make it easier to expose, but enough to poison everything inside me. I became two people. Outside, I was still the aunt who visited the children, the sister who brought food sometimes, the woman who smiled and said normal things. Inside, I was anxious all the time. My phone became a source of fear. Family gatherings became torture. Every time my sister looked at me too long, I wondered if she knew. Every time she was kind to me, it felt like a knife. I started losing sleep. I started snapping at people for no reason. I stopped praying because every time I tried, I felt fake. I would kneel down and my mind would say, "You want comfort, but you are the one creating the pain." So I stopped. The affair was not some passionate love story. That is something I need to say clearly. It was built on emptiness, selfishness, and emotional weakness. There were moments when he made me feel seen. Yes, there were moments when I felt less alone. But there was no peace in it, no real joy, no future, just hiding, waiting, lying, and carrying this constant sick feeling in my chest. And the worst part is that even in those moments, I knew my sister was the one being robbed, not just of loyalty, but of dignity. She did not know that while she was sharing her home, her struggles, and her life, two people close to her were quietly making a fool of her. That thought haunts me more than anything else. Not because she looked foolish, but because she trusted us not to humiliate her in a way she could not even see. Eventually, things began to break down. Secrets always rot. They do not stay still. They spread. He became colder, more defensive, more controlling about when we could talk and when we could not. I began to feel used, which was almost laughable, considering what I had agreed to be part of. Sometimes he would act distant with me in public, and I would burn with this ugly mixture of jealousy and shame. Imagine that. I had betrayed my own sister, and still I had the nerve to feel hurt. That was when I began to see the truth more clearly. I was not in love. I was addicted to being chosen in the one place I should never have wanted access. I also began to see him differently. When a man can lie to his wife, the mother of his children, and sleep peacefully, what exactly makes you think he will protect your heart? I don't know why I needed to learn that the hard way. Maybe because when you are emotionally starved, you will drink poison and call it water. The affair ended badly, but quietly.